what you Oh, thank you for the recording. And so what you have, so as you just get ready for this next year, and reset, I hope this will help you. Let's see. There we go. Just having trouble. So I am Sharon Morgan. I am the program director of the Office of Standards and Learning here at the State Department of Education. I was an elementary school teacher for 18 years. I served as the elementary so sorry, give me just a minute. ELA coordinator for Oklahoma City Public Schools for a couple of years. I have actually been at the OSD for about almost 7 years now. I've worked as the director of early childhood, the what Christy did. I was elementary English language art. I've worked on the Striving Readers Comprehensive Literacy Grant when we had that. And now I lead the Office of Standards and Learning, which is the office that has all the content areas with state standards. We have early childhood, imagination library, advanced placement, gifted and talented, the instructional materials cycle. So all the great things I think having to do with classroom. If you have any questions about any of those, we're going to try to share resources so you can get to the right person. But here's my contact information. So you're always welcome to send me an email and just, say, where do I find resources on this? We love to do that in our office. So welcome. Having trouble getting to the next slide. Okay, so our goals. I want to do a quick overview of the Oklahoma academic standards. I'm going to dig into the nuances really of the kind of core four ELA, math, science, and social studies, and then highlighting where we can find the other ones. We have created an elementary OSDE Connect course. I know for elementary teachers, you teach all of the subject areas, and so it can be difficult to go to different places to find your standards. So we have gathered those up. I want to make sure everyone has access to that. And then a little bit more time talking about the framework. So we have frameworks that help us better understand the state standards and just give you a chance to explore, ask questions, that type of thing. So that'll be our agenda for today. So the Oklahoma Academic Standards, we do have Whoa, I'm having a lot of trouble with, there we go. You can see my slides. So we do have state standards for all of these subject areas and even a few more. As an elementary school teacher, or if you're dealing with elementary, I would always encourage you to read over your standards sometime after the end of the school year, before the next school year, just to refocus on what we need to be teaching. The state standards are revised by this statute about every 6 years. These are minimum requirements, just to have a framework across the state. And I would also encourage you, even though I'm going to really talk about those four, I would really encourage you to look at the fine arts, health, physical education, because really in an elementary school classroom, you are integrating all of those. So we do have a new website. And I want to make sure that you're able to find, I'm going to go to the standards and learning page. I want to be able to make sure that you can find these standards because that can be tricky. So here is our new standards and learning website. So I should have it on the screen. Are you seeing the website on the screen? Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't flip to a different screen. So if you go here, I would go to services. So this is the new OSDE website. I would go to services and then down here to standards and learning and then maybe bookmark that. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the standards. You're going to see the frameworks. Family guides are also, those are guides that tell what students should be learning in various content areas in each grade level. They're great for handing out to families. We have added some upcoming professional development, and here's the quick link. So if you go to the Oklahoma Academic Standards, you will find them right here, the year that they were adopted. In some cases, there's a little bit of an overlap. For example, we've just adopted social studies standards, but U.S. history will still be tested until we can get some, different items. So we sometimes have both of those in there, but they're all in here, and it also describes what the assessment is related to that. That's standard. Okay, I'm going to go back to our slideshow. So that's how you find them. It's just a reminder that here's the difference between standards, curriculum, and instruction, because sometimes these get confused. Standards are the responsibility of state. They're end of year grade level expectations, like I said, the minimum. So you want to make sure you focus on those, but you can go above if you so chose. That's just to make sure that we have a framework across the state that all the students are at least meeting those expectations. Your local district is responsible for the curriculum. We at the State Department of Education do not determine what curriculum that you use, and your district is determining the day-to-day plan to meet or exceed those standards, what you want to assess, what you want to focus on, what that pacing is. That's all for the local district. And then the classroom teacher is the expert in daily instruction and the practice of meeting the needs of students. So that's kind of how those things split up. So let's talk about English language arts. Um, just to kind of be a little refresher, the English language arts standards have 8 overarching standards. Each one, except for listening and speaking, has the listening and speaking. And then the rest of them have both reading and writing components because we know that those two things build on each other. We think of reading as the input and writing as the output. So each one of those standards have that. Here's what a page looks like. So we have that overarching standard at the top, and then we have the reading side and the writing side. And those are really written to reflect one another so that you can do that in your classroom as well. So math, in our math standards, we have 4 content strands, and you can see the abbreviations after each one when you're looking at them: numbers and operations, algebraic reasoning, so sorry, and algebra. You can tell I'm an ELA person because I do tend to think on the reading side. So I will get that fixed. Geometry and measurement, and data and probability. But we don't want math instruction to simply be rote memorization of facts. So math standards have math actions and processes. So we hope you'll be integrating these processes throughout your instruction: conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, problem solving, reasoning, a productive mathematical disposition, making models, generalizing, and communicating mathematically. Lots of talking about math, learning that. Here is a page in the math standards and how you would read that. So you can see the math actions and processes across the top, that strand, the overarching standards on the left-hand side, and then your grade level objectives are there in the middle of the page. Okay, so science, we have science did go through revision last year, and we will be putting those on the website. Now that we don't put the new standards on the website till after legislative session is over, but we will be doing that. We are not fully implementing the newer science standards until 2026. So this year will be social studies, next year will be science, but they will be up if you'd like to look at them. If you'd like to implement them, start getting used to them, that's fine. But just to make sure you know. So science, I've learned a lot about it in this last revision, has 3 dimensions. So the dimension 1 is the doing, and I'll show you where those are in the standards. So the science and engineering practices. So if you look at these bullet points, these are the doing. We're asking questions, developing using models, planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing data, using math and computational thinking, constructing explanations, engaging in scientific argument and giving evidence, obtaining and communicating information. So these are all the things we're doing as scientists. Dimension 2 is the knowing. So this is the content information. And under the dimension 2, you're going to have 4 domains: physical science, life science, earth and space science, and engineering, technology, and applications of science. And you see the abbreviations there. So we've got the doing of science, the knowing of science, and then the thinking of science. So these cross-cutting concepts go across all scientific areas. And so these are important to think about as we go through our science instruction. So something that will be coming up in the 2026 standards that I just want to mention to you is a new section called scientific literacy. And this is understanding and applying basic scientific concepts, processes, and reasoning to everyday situations. And once again, so sorry, I see a error there. Even though I've looked at this 1,000 times. So I'll change. I do know how to spell Oklahoma. So here is how you navigate the science standards. With the very top, there's a performance well, we have the disciplinary core idea at the very top, and then we have a performance expectation, and that performance expectation integrates the 3 dimensions. Just to help with teacher clarification, underneath we do have a clarification statement and then an assessment boundary. So you can really focus on what the meaning of that standard is. And so the three dimensions that I just described, you'll see in the blue, we have the science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, and cross-cutting concepts. In this example, you will also see the connections to scientific literacy that I just mentioned. That is not on all standards, just where it makes the most sense. But it says science assumes consistent patterns in natural systems. So that's just another idea to think about as we talk to students about being scientists. Here is a clean copy of that. So if you look here, at this second grade. So you can see this performance expectation across the top, make observations of plants and animals to compare the diversity of life in different habitats. And then you see the three dimensions. So in one, we're planning and carrying out investigations. You have the disciplinary core ideas, which is the knowing part, and then cross-cutting concepts, which is the thinking part. So what we're trying to do is you can teach those separately, but also the ultimate goal is we're putting them together, that students are learning about different kinds of living things in an area by making observations, which is the science and engineering practice, and collecting data with the thinking that systems are organized in a group of related objects or components. So just an overview there of science and those dimensions. So in social studies, we have the content strands, which have not changed: history, geography, civics, and economics. And you're going to note that those are, the abbreviation for that is a C. And then we have practices. These practices here are the 2025 social studies. There used to be 5 bullets, but the writing team did reduce those down to 4 to make it a little bit easier. But the practices for social studies: critical thinking, and authentic civic issues, acquiring, applying, and evaluating content, critical active reading of primary and secondary sources, and developing a variety of evidence-based written products. So here's, this is actually from the old one. So you'll see the processes. Notice that this is second grade content standards. So in the new ones, you're actually going to see another letter in those codes right here. So similar to this one, here's an example of the practice center standards for K1. So you're going to see 1P11, that would be first grade practice standards 1-1. And then if it's a content standard, you'll see a C there. So we've just put those practice standards into the body of each grade level standards instead of separate as they were before. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for just a minute. Like I mentioned at the beginning, as an elementary teacher, you're likely teaching all of these subject areas. And to help make it a little bit easier for you, we have created an OSDE Connect, which is our Canvas course with the various, with different grade levels on it. So let's see, I'm going to put the link in the chat. So let's see if I can go to it here. I'm going to go back. Okay, I'm going to try to go to the catalog and see if I can show you how to get there. Maybe not. Now, here we go. Okay, so if you go to OSE Connect, you will have to have a login. I actually have 2 logins, one for my work and then one for just a personal one that I use sometimes. Be careful not to have too many. We have had some people that have had up to 7 different logins, and then they're working on a course and they can't find it, and they can't they go back in and they don't have their work done. It's because they're in a different one. So there are lots of different trainings. There's trainings on the different content areas, but I'm going to look up elementary resources. There it is. And so here's the course right here. So I'll click on it. I happen to already have it. I'm already enrolled, but you would enroll. Let's see, I guess I have to go to my dashboard. And I'm spinning. don't know. So I'm going to go to, so I'll give you just a minute, but when you go to the course, you will see pre-K through fifth grade. And if you click on one of those, you will see first grade. So here's all the different standards uploaded for you. Here's the frameworks that we're going to talk about in a minute, and here's the family guides. I think we've updated all the links. We did get that new website, so sometimes we do find broken links, but just wanted to give you all just a few minutes to try to get enrolled, to explore that. Let me know if you have any questions about the standards before we get into the framework. So I'm just going to set my timer for about 4 minutes. Let us know if you're having any problems getting into that. Yes, you will have to make an account. Let's see. If you're having any issues, please put it in the chat or let us know. I know sometimes we think we're going to go to that later and we don't really get to it. So I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go back and let us know. We can stay on afterwards too if you're having any trouble, but that was just something that we did to help elementary teachers because we know that there's, you're always trying to figure out a new set of standards and there's adoption because you're teaching all of them. Okay, and I'll just wait. Does anybody want to unmute or put any questions in the chat about standards? Is your time to ask anything? Okay. Well, if something comes up, just let us know. But I do want to dig into the frameworks. I love the frameworks. This is a website that I'll show you in just a minute that gives you more information about the standards. Because even though we read the standards, and in our office, when we work with teams and groups, we try to make them as clear as possible. Still, they're interpreted differently by different teachers, admin. So the frameworks help us to better understand what the intent of each standard is. So OSD curriculum frameworks, they're a set of curricular resources developed by Oklahoma teachers to help educators translate the Oklahoma academic standards into classroom practice. They do highlight the intent of each standard, providing instructional options to support student learning. And in many cases, there are some helpful tools to help you as a teacher to implement the standards with fidelity. We think of it this way: the standards are our foundation, the frameworks are the kind of the um the resources and approaches to meeting those standards, and then student learning would be at the top there. So frameworks define what is expected of students by examining the intent of each standard and providing instructional options for support. So this is what you can find them here. So I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to put this in the chat as well. This is in the same standards and learning page on the left-hand side. Here were Oklahoma academic standards. Here are the frameworks. You can also find those on the individual content area pages. Let me go back. Oh, so sorry. Go this way. So this might be helpful to take a picture of or take a note of. This is just a chart to show what each content area has. In a perfect world, all the content areas would all have the same thing, but it just kind of depends on funding, revision cycles, needs of that content area, that type of thing. So every single content area has an objective analysis where we really take that grade level objective and break it down. Most of them have engagement strategies, and these are just low prep, good strategies for the classroom that can be used across lots of contexts. Sample units or lessons, that just varies by the content area. There are units in math. English language arts does have lessons. We don't do units in English language arts because per Strong Reading Act, you have to have a curriculum. So we don't want to muddy the waters there. Social studies has units, science has units. There are other lesson ideas, assessment ideas. English language arts has a few in their lesson plans, so that's something to look at. But I know social studies, fine arts, health and PE, and personal financial literacy have assessment. Universal Design for Learning is a wonderful tool. It's a framework for addressing the needs of all students before, something to think about before you teach the lesson. Back in the day, when I was taught how to make a lesson, I had my lesson plan template. At the very end, it was, how do I modify for English learners? How do I modify for students with disabilities? But in the UDL model, you think about those things before, not the after. So I think I have all these different needs in my classroom. How can I how can I think about this lesson to meet those needs? And then there are some different subject specific resources. So components, those objective analysis, we have standards and objectives, teacher actions, what teachers can be doing, what the students need to do, key concepts and misconceptions. You can find them in all of these different content areas. Components of the framework, so engagement strategies, critical thinking, reading and literacy, writing, communications, authentic tasks that you can do for learning. And you can find those in all of these different frameworks. Sample units can be found in these frameworks if you're looking for something like that. Learning progressions, how do we move the standards, or how do they move from pre-K through 12 in these? And assessment, there are assessment ideas in each of these. And then Universal Design for Learning right now are in ELA and Fine Arts. Okay, so I'm going to go live to some of the frameworks. So here's ELA. You notice that if you go to any one of these frameworks on the right-hand side, you will see links to all the others. So if you're at one, you can easily go to any of the other content areas. Also, on this upper left-hand side where it says ELA OK framework, it doesn't matter which content you're in. If you go to the upper left side, that will take you back to the home page. So you don't have to click back. Just types of things. So just to give you an overview, here's, of course, English language arts. The way this one's been organized, we have links and resources at the top. You could find the same resources by grade level or by topic. There's an objective analysis, literacy progressions, proficiency levels, kind of like a rubric. There's universal design for learning. There's a lot of writing resources, rubrics on here, exemplar lesson plans, and there's the engagement strategies. So we're going to try to give you here a minute to look at some of these and explore and ask us questions. Here's the social studies framework. It's organized by grade level. There's a video guide of the social studies framework if you want to look. This has not been updated with the most recent standards. We will be doing that in the fall. I did want to mention, okay, so if you go to a grade level, so I just clicked on second grade, you'll see objective analysis, engagement strategy. If you go to the sample unit progression, I think this is really amazing. And you go, it says click the unit numbers below to the progression. So see these blue, if you go to unit 1, there's all this information. It creates a unit for you. Here's lots of engagement. It also has evidence, like here's some formative assessment ideas for that, and lots of links to help you. So I believe that to be a very valuable resource. And so this would be second grade, just some ideas. So there's social studies. I'm going to go to math. So we have our grade level frameworks, elementary and secondary. We have some assessment resources, other resources. I'm going to go to third grade here. So here's our math actions and processes that I talked about and how those look in third grade. So what does that actually mean for the grade level? There are suggested learning progressions. So, if you don't have a curriculum or you just need an idea of how to bundle those things together, that's there. Here's an objective analysis. So here's all the objectives to teach in third grade. I'm going to pick one, place value, and there's some variations on the content areas, but their basic premise is the same. There's student actions, teacher actions, key understandings, misconceptions. I know in ELA, it's instead of key understandings, they have recommendations and vocabulary. Here's what happens before, here's what happens after. In some cases, if you're a 3rd through 5th grade teacher, and we have some items, down here we have sample assessment items, and these are samples of what might be on an OSTP test related to this. So of course it's only upper because they're the only one, and ELA and math. So if you click on one of those, it just gives you here's a sample assessment item, if that's helpful for you and how you're thinking about that. I'm going to go to the science framework. So science, if I go to 1st grade, here's vertical learning progressions, how it progresses. Sample units, if you need some sample unit ideas for your science instruction right here. Science is difficult to teach one of those standards by themselves, so they'll have them bundled. So if I'm a 1st grade teacher and I'm teaching about light, these are the 2 standards that would go with that. All of these different names. And then if you click on that, you would see an explanation of these different 3D ideas. Let's see. Fine arts. So we have dance, drama, theater, music, visual art. I'm sure you integrate some of those into your classroom, so I would encourage you to look at those. I did want to show you something on health and PE. So the health and physical education, if you go to this one, this is one of my new favorite things. They have MTSS Tier 1 brain booster activities. So we don't like the idea that we would take a brain break because we don't want our brain to stop working. We just need it to reset a little bit, maybe because we've been sitting too long. So if you would click on the MTSS Tier 1 Brain Booster activities in elementary, it gives you all of these little activities that you could integrate throughout the day if you just need a little bit of movement. We actually do these during our team meetings in our office with all of our adults. Shayna Klassen is our P and Health project manager, and so she'll take us through these, and we usually will integrate some kind of response or learning, whatever we've done in our meeting, and just throw a beanbag back and forth and talk about what we've learned. So those are great. That's a great resource if you want to incorporate more physical movement in your classroom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And I would like you all, do we want to do breakout rooms, Christy? I just am springing this on her right now.
I can certainly do that.
I can't tell. Well, I'll just give us, let's see. Let's just go to breakout rooms for 5 or 6 minutes. I think we're doing okay on time. Explore the frameworks, look around, think about something maybe that you've been struggling with, or a content area you're not as familiar with, or an objective that you've argued about with people at your school. What does it mean? And just look and see if you can get some help with the framework. So can you, oop, Christy, you might have frozen on me. Let's see.
Are you ready?
Oh, there you are. You were frozen on.
You were frozen for me as well, so
Okay.
I didn't hear your questions that
I'm
you
going
were
to go
asking.
ahead and just give everyone, there's the link. We're just going to put in breakout rooms so you all can talk for about 5 or 6 minutes. And then we will come back and just see what your thoughts are. What did you notice? What did you wonder about the frameworks, and just answer any final questions. So I'm going to put you into breakouts.
I'm sending you there now.
I'm going to set my timer for about 5 minutes.
Okay. Becky, did you get your invitation to room 1? There she did.
Got a few cameras on, so hopefully, never know where people are at this time of day.
Right. Looks like most everyone joined their room.
We did have a private request in the chat that we, and maybe I can write up an email that we send the links to the OSD Connect course and the frameworks.
Okay.
And I did fix that. I could have sworn that I fixed that reasoning part in math.
I fixed it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I fixed both.
Pretty sure, because I know I did that last year and I fixed it. So maybe I just have copies of that presentation.
Yeah.
So We could probably download a PDF of the presentation
Yes,
and then just send them the OSD Connect and the Standards and Learning.
yes, I'll do that. I'm going to take a note. I'll do that this afternoon.
Okay. If you're busy, I can try to.
No, I have time. With links to course and frameworks. And I can just send it to all the participants but we should get a list of who attended this session, correct? Yeah.
I believe so, but it would be
It's been
okay.
a while since I Zoomed. So.
I know. That seems strange. But we could just put the PDF and then what, standards and learning, standards, frameworks, and then the OSD Connect course, and then just say, we'll see you next week for
Mhm. Classroom management.
classroom management.
And we, I think we're still recording, but we can put these recordings somewhere where everyone can find them, maybe even in that course.
Yeah.
So since they're for elementary.
Hopefully, it looks like a few of our sessions don't have any cameras on, but
Oh, and our breakouts.
yeah, I was hoping people would come off if they were in a breakout,
Yeah, microphones are still muted.
but it's a lot to look at too. I'm gonna get it. Is Emily on this? Because Emily sent me a text message.
Tyler is.
But okay. Is Brenda doing classroom management next week?
Brenda and Shayna.
And Shana, okay. I think I need to register. Well, I guess I can just get on the Zoom, but
Yes. Are there plans to continue to provide digital content in the frameworks? It'd be nice to have more variety from which to choose. There are plans.
oh, I didn't get that one. Is that just to you?
It's to the group, the whole group. Well, maybe, oh, it is just to me. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me when you're ready for me to bring them back.
Okay. I was gonna broadcast about 1 more minute. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the rooms. I think they should have another minute.
Yes.
There we go. About 30 more seconds for everybody to come back. Okay, here we all come back. Okay, so we just want to hear, you can put it in the chat, or we have a small group if you want to unmute. What did you find helpful? Was there anything that you came across that you could use or share with your teachers? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute. Okay, the engagement activities. Okay, resource links. Anybody find something new that they hadn't learned before, hadn't known before? Okay, yes. Okay, brain booster. I love the brain booster activities. I added those to some of my presentations this summer. But yes, hopefully we don't want to determine curriculum, but some guidance if you don't have any. Okay, thank you. Yes, and Patty, we are continuing to try to add more assessment items as we have them. If you've been on any of our assessment committees, it does cost like tens of thousands of dollars for just even one item on a state test with all the committees that it has to go through. So we don't have enough to have a lot of released items, but as we retire them, we're trying to put them on. Okay, Kelly, I agree with you. I believe the Freyer model is one of the engagement strategies, at least in ELA, might even be in math actually. But yeah, that is a tried and true strategy you can use throughout. So as we kind of wrap up here and keep putting things in the chat if you're looking, did anybody have any questions? I mean, this is your chance. Standards, frameworks, anything you think that we might could add to the frameworks that would be helpful? If you have anything, we'll watch the chat. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead into the final resources here. But Christy and I can stay on a few minutes if you do want to stay and have any questions. So here, just to highlight some resources that you have available to you on that same standards and learning site. On the left-hand side, there were family guides. There's family guides for all the content areas. We're about to upload computer science even, which computer science is required to be offered in the elementary school in whatever way you choose, but it is becoming a pretty essential part of curriculum with all the technology, but there are family guides there that you can hand out at a family night or conferences or something of that nature. Here's the OSTP assessment resources if you are in a testing grade. There is the OSDE Connect. There's lots of asynchronous courses in there. In our Office of Standards and Learning, we've been trying to add some for each one of the content areas. So if you have a new teacher who doesn't know anything about the ELA standards, there is a quick course in there just to give guidance. Or any of the other content areas. Also, we do have a lot of OSDE newsletters. So there's a link for that, and we can send these links out afterwards. If you go to the OSDE main page and go down to the very bottom right hand corner, it has newsletters, Gov Delivery newsletters. If you put your email in and make an account, it will give you the list of every single newsletter that we have in our agency, and you can click the ones you want. But the content areas that send out newsletters have lots of information about frameworks, upcoming events, resources, that type of thing. So that's a great source of information. And then the OSD, our Standards and Learning team, is available to do professional development. So there is a request form there, and it's also on the Standards and Learning page. So if your district is having some kind of district PD and you need help with a certain content area, we can do our best to help out with that. Here's the contact information. You can see everybody's information also on the Standards and Learning page. But we do have somebody over each one of the content areas. Science, we have a new science person coming June 16th. That's been open for a little while. So please reach out if you have any questions. And then just a reminder coming up. So next week we'll be talking about classroom management. If you want to come and meet with us at noon next Tuesday and hear the next few weeks, integrating art, play-based learning, family engagement, artificial intelligence, that's a big one, parent communication, and student engagement. And then Inspire OK is our state conference. That's on June 26th. So here is the link for that conference. Be a one-day conference in Norman. And then our team will be out and about this summer or this fall at these different locations doing fall regionals. So at fall regionals, they are more like 3-hour deep dives into a topic related to that subject area. So we are working on getting locations finalized and registration links, but those will come out probably on social media, in the newsletters, and those types of communications. So be looking for that. And again, here is my contact information. If you have anything about this presentation that you want to ask, you want me to connect you to somebody that can help, please do not hesitate to reach out. That's what we like to do in our office. Okay, we'll stay on. If you have the opportunity to just take our survey, we do like to get information about what was helpful to you, what you'd like to see in the future that helps shape the professional development that we offer in our office. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking time out of your summer off contract just to hang out with us and try to learn more. I hope that you got some new information about the standards and resources to help you implement those in your classroom. So we will go ahead and end right now. But if you did have a pressing question you'd like to ask us, we'll stay on for a few more minutes. Thank you all so much.